guys, Christina Johnson here from Christina's Dessertery. Welcome to my new YouTube channel, primarily focused on tutorials. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an open peony, like this one right here. Ready? Let's go. Let's talk about all of the supplies that we're going to need. First, you have an empty egg carton to dry your petals on. Next, we have 22 gauge floral wire. That looks like this when it comes out of the package. Okay, floral wire. We're gonna need some wire cutters, floral tape, edible glue, which is made from Tyloo's powder, and hot water. You mix it together and let it set up overnight, and you've got this glorious edible glue. Next, we're gonna need some cornstarch. It doesn't have to be in this fancy thing. I've just acquired a lot of things over the years. 5 stamens per flower. Peony cutter, 2 sizes, large, medium. If you don't have a peony cutter, I'm going to show you how to do this with 2 round cutters. It's pretty versatile. Next, we've got the rolling pin, a ball tool, thick foam pad, cell board. Have to have a cell board for this. Cell cakes, you can order it online, cell board. Underneath, I've got a shelf liner to help it from slipping as I'm using it. Last but not least, satin ice gum paste. I think satin ice gum paste has the best recipe. I've tried many different kinds, and this is just the one that I prefer, but you don't have to have this one. You can use any gum paste that you have on hand. Alrighty, let's get started. Step 1, we are going to take our floral wire and we're going to cut it into 3 pieces. I don't measure this, I just do it by eye, but if you want to measure, that's fine. You have 5 petals per row, so you can count how many petals you're going to have total, and then just cut all of your floral wires into these. Next, what we have to do is knead your gum paste. So when you take gum paste out, or fondant, when you take it out, it is automatically hard. So this one's tinted pink already a little bit, and this is where this cornstarch comes in. Some people like to use powdered sugar. Look at this. Some people like to use powdered sugar here, but I feel like powdered sugar just gets sticky, and then it makes your hands sticky. You gotta wash your hands frequently. I don't like it. Cornstarch does the same thing as powdered sugar without the stickiness. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is kneading the gum paste. I'm folding it into each other. This is crucial for starting with a premium product. Look at the difference. It's very difficult to take a big thing of gum paste like this and try to work with it. So I usually split it up, and then after it's completely kneaded, see, it's not done yet. You see this part right here? It still needs more. Whereas, you know, if I were to split it up, I could fold it into itself and knead it, and it'd be easier to get it nice and soft. So this is what you're shooting for. You want it to look like this. See how there's no, trying to get the light. And we're gonna do the last one here. Trying to get rid of all this by kneading it into each other. The warmth of your hand is warming up the gum paste and making it more pliable. Put them all together and then knead them into each other. Okay, so when you knead into each other, all of the creases are going on one side. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, first, I'm gonna split it in half. Very important, the piece that you're not using, put it back inside of a plastic bag so that it doesn't dry out. Take the part that you have, put all of the crease on one side. We're gonna make a sausage. Do you see how all the creases are on the bottom now? Take the creases, put them down, and slightly press. You're flattening it out a little bit. I'm trying to create the length and shape that needs to go on the cell pad. See how it's not long enough? Now is when you take your rolling pin, I'm gonna try to do this with one hand, and go like this. Not a lot, just enough so that it reaches both sides. See how it's a little, it needs a little bit more, so I'm gonna do a little bit right here. Did you see what I just did? See this part? If I keep rolling this way, it's just gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then that'll be useless because you can't use the small side. So I go like this to keep it thick and then roll it. Let's try it out. Beautiful. It goes all the way across. Okay, now that you have it here, you want to take your rolling pin. Notice how I don't have it all the way to the end? You want to take your rolling pin, put it on the center of the gum paste, and with a firm pull, bring it to you. Now go to the other side, same thing. Center of the gum paste, firm pull, bring it to you. You're trying to bring all this gum paste to the edge. Don't worry about what's going on up here. Don't worry about this. Bring it to the edge. Let's shift this. There we go. Bringing it all the way to the edge here. Got to bring it all the way to the edge on this side. See, a trick for getting just right here is to go sideways or diagonal. Put your rolling pin like this and just put the pressure right there. That way you're not overstretching the areas that are already thin, but you're getting that thick part down. Now we want to do the upper half. Now I'm going to go diagonal for this because I'm doing a little section at a time. You want your petals to be thin, as thin as possible. Now I can feel right here is kind of thick, so I'm kind of zooming in right there with my rolling pin. Look what just happened here. I'm going to push it back down. I feel like it came out of the groove. Okay, it came out of the groove, so we're going to leave that alone because we don't want to mess up the groove. Slowly stick your fingers all under here to kind of release it, and as a whole, pick it up and flip it over. See these beautiful grooves? You've got a thick end and a thin end. Take your peony cutter, line it up with the bottom, making sure the vein goes straight up the center, even pressure, press down, and then shimmy it to make sure that the gum paste is fully released. A tricky part is right here. This part always wants to stay stuck inside of there, so kind of pull that out. pop out your beautiful, so pretty. And then we're going to place it on top of the foam pad. And then repeat. Thin part, thick part, push down. Oh, I'm glad this happened. Look, it's not tall enough. See, the gum paste isn't tall enough? But what's nice is that a peony is so jaggedy and it's not symmetrical. So it doesn't matter. If this was a rose, it would be a little different, but I'm going to try to do it in a way to kind of hide the imperfection. But look, there's a little bit of imperfection there. Do you see what I'm talking about? Let me take you out of here. Right there, it doesn't go all the way. It doesn't go all the way. Some of you are probably like, oh my gosh, who cares about that? But I know, I care. Push it down. Even pressure. Shimmy it. Pull it out. Look at that pain in the neck part. It always stays like that. One more time. You've got 2 left. Oh, it's doing it again. It wasn't tall enough. So we know the next time we just need to make sure that our gum paste is up a little higher. Okay, next step. What we want to do is take our ball tool and put it half on the petal, half on the foam pad. Start like this and just kind of, you know, even pressure, but not too hard. You don't want to ruin the petal. And go back and forth until it makes a little bit of a wave. You're trying to give it a natural look. Turn it over. Do the other side. Ball tool half on, half off. All the way around. You don't want to do it too much because then it makes it hard to assemble the flower. Then what you want to do is take one of your floral wire that's cut into 3, dip it a little bit in the edible glue. I kind of just tap the excess off and insert it into, this is a tricky part right here. I have my middle finger underneath the vein and I have my thumb on top of the vein. I'm not pressing down on it. All I'm trying to do is take this floral wire and guide it into this tiny vein. The first few times you do this, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking because you want to make sure that you don't have it go through the other side or pop out this side either, which is why you've got your 2 fingers, one on the top and one on the bottom. Like right now I could feel it's getting kind of close on the back side. So I've got my middle finger there, my thumb here. I'm going to try to bring it back to the center of the vein, if that makes sense. See? Beautiful. Then we need to take our egg carton, put it inside of the egg carton, and just kind of press down lightly so that it dries with the natural cupping form. So it'll dry kind of like, it'll dry like this. This one's already done. Let's do it again. We're going to repeat. Now you can either insert the floral wire after you frill or you can insert it before you frill. I'm going to show you this way as well. Dipping this in here, kind of tapping off the excess, sticking it in the center. Making sure, see, it's not going in automatically in the center. I'm having to guide it. Guide it all the way up to about here. Then we're gonna frill. If this way is easier for you to put the floral wire in first, by all means. I do it both ways. Beautiful. Stick it inside of our egg carton. Now watch this. Put it down in there. And I just kind of press a little bit here. And then this part is, you know, cupped just a little bit. Let's do another. Let's do this one, because this is the one that, see the cutter, it didn't go all the way up on the cutter. Now I can feel in my hands this is starting to dry. So we're gonna have to work a little bit faster. You don't have a lot of time. Stick it inside of there. I'm going to put the floral wire in all three right now, just to speed up the process. One more. Look. It came through. That's not a problem. I'm going to try to get it, manipulate it to get back in there and stay in the center. A little bit came through over here, but that's okay. This is why you let it dry overnight. So starting with the one that the cutter didn't, see there was some area the cutter didn't get to do its beautiful magic. It doesn't matter because it's a flower petal, and flower petals aren't symmetrical. It's what adds to the beauty of nature and cake decorating. It's an art. It works. Still looks pretty. Okay, moving on to the next one. Now we're going to stick them all in the egg carton. I'll show you again. So there's two sides. There's the side that has the vein, and then there's the other side. The side that has the vein goes down. When you put it in here, I'm kind of getting both sides of the petal to kind of scoop down in there. Scoop them down in there. Last one. Honestly, it's all these little details that separates your product from an inferior one. Moving on to the second row. We're going to make the second row of petals now. This is the smaller of the two. I'm kneading it in so that all the creases are on the bottom, and then we're going to roll it into a sausage, leaving the creases on the bottom. Flattening it out, trying to maintain an even shape. Just kind of pulling it slightly to make it a little bit longer. I'm just trying to start with like an even, equal shape. Put a little bit of the cornstarch on the table. Now you want to make sure that your table is very, very clean. I'm using an NSF approved stainless steel table that we had in the bakery. But if you are at home and you're using like your kitchen counter, make sure there's no fuzz, because there's lint and fuzz everywhere. It's so easy to get fuzz on gum paste. And when you're staring at art, like pretty art, you can see little fuzz. Just make sure everything is super clean before you start. Okay, I'm not making this super thin. All I'm trying to do is make it long enough to fit on here. Remember? I can feel with my fingers that it's a little thicker here than it is where I just rolled. So I'm gonna try to keep that wide shape and roll a little further down. Doing that to the other side, you can see how it's thicker and it's starting to go round. That'll be unusable when you get on here. So try to keep it more of like this shape and then make it longer. Let's put it on here. See how it reaches both sides? Starting from the center, roll downward. But my shelf liner is not. There we go. Roll down. And then roll up. Look right here what's happening. But I can see it's super thick right here, starting to get very thin right here and here. So I'm going to try to utilize this thickness and bring it down by only using a little bit of the rolling pin. Only this much of the rolling pin is being used right now. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Diagonally, just bring it down a little bit, working in small strides. Same thing here. And then we're going to go halfway and up. So remember what happened last time? Some of them there wasn't enough gum paste for the cutter to fit. Look right here. I'm going to just go up a little bit at a time, diagonally. It's not sticking right here, so I have to stop what I'm doing up here and go back down here. I'll finish with this last one. And then working on, I can feel with my finger where it's too thick and where it's thinner. So I'm just going to try to even it out. Who remembers the next step? Take your fingers, put them all right here. Just release a little bit. Lift it up as a whole. Flop it over. Then we're going to take the smaller of the two cutters and put it right here. Press down, shimmy it, take it, put it on the foam pad. Look at this one. Do you see what happened? I'm glad this happened. It's a very difficult position to have like the camera right in front of me and then the gum paste on the table. But I'm glad that this happened because it's going to show you how to fix, because things go wrong all the time. And I'm going to show you how to overcome it. In the beginning, when I first started, I would have crumbled this up and started over again. You do not have to do that. Put it right here. It's kind of thin right here. I'm going to go up a little bit more so that the stamen isn't all the way up. I mean, the vein isn't all the way up, but it doesn't matter. We're going to use the thickness of the gum paste to compensate for where the line is missing. Press down. Put it on the foam pad. Next one. Foam pad. I'm going to get rid of this. Now we've got them all on the foam pad. This is the one that didn't have the vein, and this one has a perfect vein. Let me show you the perfect vein one first. Remember to take your floral wire, dip it, tap off the excess. I'm getting that perfect one. Middle finger on the bottom, thumb on the top. Manipulating it to stay in the center. Here is the one that doesn't really have that. You can still kind of see it, and I made sure that I tried to keep it thick, so I went up a little to keep the thickness going. Same thing. It's going to be a little more tricky because we don't have as much thickness to work with. But I'm working slow. And watch. Ba-bam. You can kind of see it here, but that's fine. 3 more. Okay. On these, I want you to look. This one is kind of bent. Can you see the bend right here? The bend. So you always want to check and see what side is better, because some sides are not clean. I've just been very lucky with this tutorial. They're all really good, but that's not always the case. So just check and make sure. This one is very thin, super thin. So it's gonna, see, there's just not enough gum paste there for me to stick it in, but it's fine because I feel it getting thicker up here. See how it is? That is okay. When I assemble the flower, I'm gonna leave this as one of the bottom petals. So don't stress about that. I can feel my gum paste, because it's so cold here right now and it's such dry weather, I can feel it getting, it's already starting to crust over. So you kind of got to work fast. But if you can't work fast, keep the petals inside of a Ziploc bag as you're working to help with this dryness. Same way, notice how these smaller ones have a different look to them than the bigger cutter. That's what gives it character, the open peony. This one's a little trickier because you've got this like little indentation right here. So you can't just go straight across. You gotta go like this. And then lift up your ball tool and move over here. And then over here. It's only on the straight areas that you can just drag your ball tool back and forth. But on these side areas, you kind of just got to go a little bit at a time to maintain the frill of the cutter. I'm going to show you what'll happen if you don't do that. Watch. It's just ruining it. So little sections at a time. Okay, so you want to let these dry overnight before you work with them. So what I went ahead and did is made some yesterday. That way we can proceed without waiting. Next, you're going to take your 5 stamens. Make sure they're equal length. Find the center. Fold them in half. Then you're going to get one of those floral wires that you cut into 3. Go about a 1/2 inch down, and you're going to bend it. So there's a crease right there. Take that bend and put it in the middle of the stamens. You see what I just did? Pull all the stamens up and put pressure with your nail in between the bottom of the stamens so that they're very tight. Take your wire cutter and squeeze as close as you can to the stamens. And then twist it around. You see? This is your center of your flower. We're gonna start with the smaller petals right now. So you wanna take each petal and just right here, bend it just a little bit. So it looks like this. Now here's the tricky part. If you haven't already used floral wire, let me give you a little tip. It feels like both sides are the same, but the side that's facing the roll, when you pull it, it kind of activates a stickiness, but not to the touch. It's hard to explain, but it's made specifically for doing this sort of thing, or if you're arranging fake florals. So it's made specifically for this, but what you want to do is make sure the side that goes into the roll is the side that you want to use on your flower. So put it here and then just kind of very slowly put it around the wire and try to make it tight and start rolling just a little bit so that it's tight and it's all the way up to the stamen to hide what you just did. Then you take your bent petal, put it right there, keep it tight and wrap around tightly 2 or 3 times. That's your first petal. The second petal, bend it, and you're gonna put it a little bit over the last petal you just did. You see, so this is the new petal. It's gonna go right here. Then make sure you are using the right side of your tape and that you're activating it as you go. You gotta pull it to activate it as you go. And then go around 2 or 3 times. Do you see how my petals have moved? Take it and just move it back to where it belongs. The third petal is gonna go the same way, just a little bit over the last petal you just did. So this gets kind of tricky because you've got all this stuff in your hand, but once you do it a few times, you get the hang of it. The key is to keep this tight. My fingers are right here and it's tight. Bend here, and then like that. I'm switching over to my right hand, trying to keep it tight and tightly putting and making sure that all of these petals are staying close to the top and that it's staying tight. Look, it's already looking like a flower. Isn't that pretty? It's therapeutic. It's very, very pretty. We've got 2 more. Here's one more. Switching hands. And sometimes it's not easy to activate as you go, so you can kind of do it while it's up here. Kind of pull it while it's up here and go around. Now we've got the last one. The last petal, bend it. What you want to do is put it in between here. So it's over the last one you just did and under the first one. You see? This is it. Over and under. It fits right in there. Tighten, making sure that all the petals are up to the top, and go around a few times. All of my green is still right up here. I'm not taking this and going down and up and down and up. It's all staying right here. We're moving on to the next row, which is the larger petals. Vein is for the back. This part, the cupped part, is for the front. Bend. These you might have to bend a little bit more, but be careful, you don't want to pull the floral wire out of the petal. You're going to place this in between two petals. So here's two petals. This one is going in between there. As close to the top as you can. Go around twice. Next petal. Bend. It's gonna go, you want to focus more on it going a little bit over the last petal we just did. And then taking your floral tape and going around. You can go around once or twice. Next, take it again, a little bit. It's going just a little bit over the last one we just did. Okay, see this part right here? If we would have taken the ball tool and frilled too much here, it would be very difficult to do this, to have them go half on the last one, because you'd have so much frill from the previous one, and on this one, it would just be very hard for it to look like a beautiful flower. Go around right here, up at the top. We've got two more. Here's one. Last one. I'm going to try to do this so you can really see. It's a very difficult position. Okay, right here. This one, it doesn't really matter. Like if you want to put it halfway on the last one and then underneath this one, you can, but usually you have to spread them so far apart that they usually end up separate anyway. Now, go around twice. See how my finger, it's still all up there. Still activating the tape as I go. Now that they're all secure, I'm gonna take the tape and just keep spinning it around. This part is not activated, so I'm pulling it as I'm turning it. Right here, pulling, turn, pulling, turn, pulling, turn. All the way down to the end, and then this tape is awesome. You just take your nail and you go like that. You guys, look what you just made. Tell me that's not so pretty. You can almost smell it. Manipulate the petals, make it look a little more perfect. What's awesome about this flower is that you can manipulate the petals to make this flower cover a wider area on your cake. Whereas a rose is so tight and small, you need more of them on your cake to look full. This really, you could just put one up at the top. You can do 3 and it looked like a huge bouquet, and then it's less time. So if you're charging per flower, I mean, it's just better for your customer. It looks better. You can do this with the round cutter. You can do it with the rose petal, magnolias like this with the big stamen. Just know that anytime you do a flower like this, it doesn't have a bud. It has a stamen. But here you are. Isn't it pretty? Okay, I just tried to stick this inside of my cake and it's too long. I get to this point very frequently. I usually have to cut this down before sticking it into the cake. Otherwise, when you put it in, it's gonna come out the side. So when you get to this point, I kind of just, I mean, unless you're He-Man, I can't just cut through all this. So you kind of score it and then just bend these back and forth. Maybe even score it the other way. And then back and forth. Okay, there you go. Now it's shorter. All right, so I have stuck it in the top of this cake dummy. This is not a real cake. The outside is fondant, but the inside is foam. I have these on display for my customers to see, but here's the stamens. And when I go to push this in my cake, it only gets to a certain point and then you gotta push pretty hard. So I grab the stamens and then push it down right here. And then, you know, fluff your stamens back up and then you can manipulate your petals to make it look prettier. But bam, isn't that pretty? All right guys, as promised, I'm gonna show you how to do this with a round cutter. It's the same thing. I'm using white fondant now instead of the pink. Same process. Same way. Stick it in with a little bit of room left over. Put it on your table, and then you're gonna frill. Now what you can do to kind of give it more shape is play with this part here if you want. But you know what? It works. It works. Create your own little flower. I love it. I love doing things outside of the norm. I feel like that's when you experiment and you don't follow by what the norm is. That's when you create masterpieces. I'm gonna frill these just a little bit more since they're kind of, it's just a circle, whereas the other cutters had some texture to them. Not texture, but yeah, I guess texture. Look at it. The more I frilled, the more it came like this. Same process. The sky is the limit. And honestly, you don't need to spend a ton of money on a whole bunch of different things. I have been in business 11 years and I think the only cutters I have for flowers are the rose and peony. And from there I have just adapted and worked with what I had. It's just ridiculous to spend that much money on cutters. I mean, if that's what you want to do, by all means, I don't judge you for that, but not everybody can afford to do that, and not everybody should have to feel the pressure to do that. So in that case, here you are. Petals from round cutters. Stick them in, same way. Just make sure, you do that. Ta-da! You guys, thank you so much for joining me on this tutorial. If you liked it and you want to see more, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Comment down below to let me know what you would like to see. I'm happy to show you guys whatever you want. I've been in business 11 years. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've grown from them, and I would love to teach you everything that I know. So anything you want to know, comment down below, let me know.